Good morning, everyone. Today, our topic of discussion is nutrient-based subsidy scheme. So this is the topic. So basically, as we know that recently Union Cabinet has approved this uh, nutrient-based subsidy scheme for the phosphatic and potassium fertilizers. Basically, for the different seasons, it is notified. And first of all, we have to understand the what is the nutrient-based subsidy scheme, what are the provisions under it, and what are the challenges, what are the implications of nutrient-based subsidy schemes, and what can be the way to uh, address these challenges, right? So first we have to understand that nutrient-based subsidy scheme, why it is necessary. As we know that almost 65% of our Indian population is dependent on agriculture. Now I think it is 55%. So if more number of farmers are dependent on the agriculture, so obviously the government has to take care of them. And since they are poor, so the government needs to ensure that need to ensure that the nutrients, that is the fertilizers, are available, affordable, as well as it is affordable by the farmers. Now coming to the nutrient based subsidy scheme, the main topic. So basically the nutrient based subsidy scheme is a central sector scheme. This is the prelims question which can be asked, that they can ask, it is a like it is a central sector scheme, right? Another thing is that what is central sector scheme, CSS we can say. So this is basically, it is 100% paid by the government, right? I, and if we the difference between the central sector scheme and central sponsored scheme. The central sponsored scheme, the government, the state government and the central government basically share some funds. For instance, it is different for the different states. For example, we can see that if some certain from central sponsored scheme is there, so in that case, uh, for the regional states, like for the states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, the government is paying having the share of 60 and 40%. And if we talk about the northeastern states, so for them, or the hilly states, for them it is 90s to 10, means 19% of the share of the funds will be coming from the center and 10% from the states. But in the case of central sector scheme, it is completely paid by the government, that is 100% uh, funds comes from the government, that is central government. So nutrient based subsidy scheme is central sector scheme which was launched in 2010. And this department is very important because sometimes we think that since it is related to the agriculture, so definitely the ministry will be ministry of agriculture ministry of agriculture. but it, but here is not the case. Here the basically the nutrients comes under the nutrient subsidy schemes, is basically launched by the Department of Fertilizers, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, right? So this is to be noted, and this must be remembered. This I am highlighting here. So the nutrient based subsidy scheme is central sector scheme, and it has been launched by the Department of Fertilizers, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, right? Now, so what is the main aim of the nutrient based subsidy scheme? So the main aim of the nutrient based subsidy scheme is to make affordable and accessible uh, of the nutrients based fertilizers, for instance phosphatic fertilizers and the potassic fertilizers. so that the farmers could have access to these fertilizers and use them for their crops. Now, coming through the key features of nutrient based subsidy scheme. So as I've already told you, basically it is nutrient based subsidy scheme that basically covers around 28 grades of the pk fertilizers, which includes diammonium phosphates and the npks grades. Another thing is that uh, I already told you that it is nutrient based subsidy scheme. And nutrient based subsidy scheme is that any fertilizers, how much content of the nutrients are present in per kg of the fertilizers. So for the, according to that content level of the content of the nutrients, the government basically makes payment. And it must be noted that the payments are not directly given to the farmers, rather it is given to the importers as well as manufacturers. So this is to be noted, and this must be remembered because this can be asked in the prelims examination that mm, Newton under the Newton bed subsidy scheme, the government is directly paying to the farmers. No, it is not. It not so. It is basically paying to the manufacturers and the importers. Another thing is that the control of PK sector, that is phosphatic and potassium sector. Why? Because this uh, this means that the government has given freedom to the retailers that they can fix the price for these fertilizers. But however, it must be reasonable. It should not be very high. And lastly, we have the urea exclusion. That is, we must note that this can be also be asked. This is very important for the prelims, for preparing for the UPSC prelims. So urea exclusion. Urea exclusion is that from this scheme, nutrient-based subsidy scheme, urea is excluded, and all other phosphate fertilizers like 28, as I told you, that more than 28 plus pk based fertilizers has been included, except the urea. Urea is not there, so you must note this one. And urea is basically available at 242 rupee per 45 kg bag. So there will be gunny of 45 kg bag, and that is available at 242 rupees. This is fixed price. So this can be also be asked that the price of the urea is fixed, because as you can see that in the different states and the different cities, and the this urea is basically uh, available it available and sold uh, through the various high charges basically to the farmers. And you may think that the prices are varying, and so you cannot consider that the government has fixed the price. So this can be a tricky question in the exam. So you must remember that the urea is basically available at the fixed price, that is 242 rupees per 45 kg of bags of nitrogen. Okay. Now coming to the significance of this scheme. First thing, what is the significance? So you can also think of the importance of the nutrient based subsidy scheme. First thing is that if the farmers are having the availability and the accessibility of these fertilizers, so obviously it will sustain their agriculture. Second thing is that it if the fertilizers are available at reasonable price, so farmers, that is, if the input cost basically, which involves the fertilizers as well, is low, so definitely it will help us it will help the farmers to earn more profits, right? Because the margin of the input and the output cost will be lower, right? Next thing is that it will also help in the soil health management, because the nutrient based subsidy scheme basically based on the availability of the availability of the uh, nutrients in the fertilizer, and so the fertilizers will be used very uh, according to the needs, and so the health of the soil will be managed. So this is the things you should remember. And another thing we also think about the fertilizers is a nutrient based subsidy scheme, that farmers that the availability is there, so farmers will not have to will not be exploited by the will not be exploited by the black market. So all these things are there, and it will also help us to promote the agriculture in sustainable manner, right? Now coming to the challenges with the NBS, that is nutrient based subsidy scheme. So first thing, you can see that if the government is giving subsidy, it is already giving a subsidy on urea, which is making urea availability as 242 rupees per 45 kg bag. So this much, and this is very low amount for the urea. And in addition to this, if the government is coming up with the nutrient based subsidy scheme for other fertilizers as well, for phosphatic and the potassic grades, so in a way the government is basically ensuring that the fertilizers are frequently available to the farmers. And if the farmers are having that much availability of the fertilizers, so definitely they will either overuse it. So you can see, as per one of the report from the Niti Aayog report, it has been found that the uh, farmers are using 16 kg, 16 is to 16 is to 8 is to 1 is to 8, 60 is to 8.1 is to 8 1. So this is the ratio. So you can see that from the recommended 4 is to 4 is to 1, the farmers are using very high, that is 16, that is urea uses is around 16 kg per hectare, right? Something like that. So 16 and 8.1, that is phosphatic, and k is that k something like 4.1, which is recommended 4 is to 4 is to 1. So this is very much high use, and so it is causing the imbalance fertilizers uses. Another thing is that, as you know that the as you know that most of the fertilizers except the urea around 80% of the 75 to 80% of urea is produced in our country, but that is phosphatic and the potassic are mostly imported from the foreign countries. So if there is certain geopolitical tensions, so these supplies may be disrupted. And also, the since that it is made from the various components, and that is various nutrient required for it and processes. So for that matter, if the supply chains are disrupted, so prices of these fertilizers may be hiked, and that makes very difficult. That basically comes to the government funds, and since the government has to fund this nutrient based subsidy scheme, so it has the less amount uh, available for the other farmer welfare schemes. So that is also there. So why the rising fertilizer prices? Because of next is the fiscal strain. As I told you that how the fiscal strain is coming to the government, because the government has to pay this one. And you should note that the fertilizer subsidy is the second largest subsidy which is given by the government after the food subsidy. As you know, National Food Security Act is there. Next we have this import dependence, as I have told you that 25% of urea only we import and 75% we make ourselves. 90% of phosphates and 100% potash is basically exposed to the global prices, and if any global price shocks are there, so definitely the it will burden the government and also disrupt the agriculture system. Another thing is the environmental impact. As you know that these fertilizers are available at the subsidized price, so definitely the farmers may overuse it, or which may basically lead to the land degradation, and so this will ultimately impact the environment. Now coming to the reforms to strengthen the India's NBS scheme. So what reforms should be taken to strengthen the India's NBS scheme? The first thing is that it has been suggested by the Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices (CACP) that urea should be brought into the NBS framework, that is based on the content of the fertilizers. They should be paid, right? So this is the one of the suggestion by the CACP, so that the farmers will use in the balanced manner and reduce the over dependence on urea, nitrogen. Next is the link subsidies to the soil health. So since as you know that the government of India is running one of the scheme, that is soil health scheme. So under this the government ensures that the soil health uh, is tested frequently, and the farmers have the adequate knowledge about the soil's conditions, and based on the soil's condition they can use the fertilizers. So this is there that we need to basically link the fertilizers to the soil, that if we are paying certain soil or subsidized rate, so farmers before getting the fertilized or subsidized fertilizers, they needs to show the they should show basically soil health uh, checkup checkup list, and from there basically that it will show that the farmers are given the fertilizers based on that prescriptions. Like as we know that if you go to certain doctors, so you have the prescriptions and you are purchasing the drugs or medicines. Similar thing we can also apply here, that first get your first matlab soil tested, and if based on the nutrient content and desirability you can purchase the you will be given the new fertilizers. Another thing suggestion is that cap excessive subsidy uses. So since we are giving the unlimited subsidies, farmers can consume as much they can, so this is basically increasing, and it is subsidized, that is it is available at the low prices, so farmers are purchasing enormously and using in high quantity. But if we limit the subsidies or rationalize the subsidies to the for the farmers, that is limiting it to the same amount, right? If we amount like 2 or 3 bags per farmers, so definitely it will uh, ensure that the fertilizers are not black marketed. Another thing is that it is not diversed uh, diverse to the other diversion, shall also be prevented. And fourth third thing is that it will ensure the farmers are not overusing this one. Next is the encourage organic and biofertilizers. So the various public awareness programs, by conducting the meetings with the scientists, agricultural scientists, we can encourage farmers to go for the biofertilizers and the natural farming schemes. Another thing is that promote awareness and training. So this is the same thing, that the farmers should be trained, uh, if either they are practicing this traditional agriculture or natural farming or biofertilizer or that is organic farming. So these things should be kept in mind. And so we have the question here: examine the objectives and limitations of the nutrient based subsidy scheme. So I already told you that what are the objectives. Objective is to ensure that fertilizers are affordable and accessible to the farmers, right? And what are limitations of the nutrient based subsidy scheme? So already told you that it will imbalance the imbalance uses, right? Second thing is that uh, overuse lead to the soil degradation. Third thing is that black marketing will be there. And fourth thing is that price shocks are there, right? Price shocks are there, so fiscal strain will be there on the government. So these are the limitations on the nutrient based subsidy scheme. So we have how can policy reforms welfare fiscal sustainability. So as I told you that linking the fertilizer subsidy with the soil health schemes. Another thing is that bring the urea. This is very important. Bring the urea under the nutrient-based subsidy scheme that will basically discourage the overuse of urea or nitrogen fertilizer, nitrogen-based fertilizer. Another thing is third point is that if you cap the excessive subsidy, that is fixing the that fix the limitation of the bags per farmers, and so that will basically reduce the uh, reduce diversion and overuse. And another thing is that promoting the organic farming, that is farmers should be encouraged for that matter. So all these things are there, and you can think even more, and you can attempt this question. That's all for today. Thank you so much. So tomorrow, or even today only, in the next lecture I will discuss the constitutional morality, and this will finish today. And this will the our initiative of discussion of the current affairs shall go on will go on basically. And I will ensure that every month, every morning by 5 o'clock you get these videos every day. And this will basically, you may think that this is not essential, but I believe that I have gone through various mains like state PCS and UPSC and other. So I have realized that these questions which I'm discussing here, they are very insightful, and they are basically they are appearing in the exams. So there are a number of topics, but in our discussion, I will limit to the one or two topics. I may leave some topic which I think that they cannot be asked in the question in the mains examination. So I will definitely leave those topics. If you are reading the regularly these magazines, so you can look for those contents. But I'm not say I will not go through that if it is required. So I will also tell in the brief, but my focus is that I will definitely basically focus on the requirement of the mains and the syllabus, and what I feel that mostly the questions can be asked in the exam, because I have appeared in the many mains examinations. So I have seen different questions and how the examiners are thinking. I have analyzed those things, so I know based on that. So I will try to discuss everything, but still, if some portions are missed, so you can check yourself or you can read yourself. And that's all. And that's all. Thank you so much. If you like my videos, you can subscribe my channel, and we'll meet in this next videos. Thank you.